Is Neville Gallimore the new glue for the Dallas Cowboys defense? Well, Neville Gallimore, and we go get right into the film. Looking at Neville's Gallimore film, one of the things when he returned, he was one of the best surprises of the 2021 season. It was hands down that it was a good surprise that they basically sprung on us. And you can also see his impact, him and Tristan Hill, especially when you look at them side by side and look at the push off the ball and the difference between Tristan Hill and the new size of Neville Gallimore. Especially when you look at those guys side by side, because when Neville first got to the Dallas Cowboys, he was definitely not the size that he arrived back when he came back from his injury, and we're gonna talk about that. But his push was phenomenal. We were seeing freakish stuff from the new, what I would call athletic one tech. I mean, he was injuring centers on just pure push off the ball and getting sacks from the interior, just stuff that's not common from any type of one tech we was seeing in his debut games back. Now, his fire and his flame did kind of fizzle out. We don't know exactly why. It could have been still dealing with that hypertension that happened with his injury. It could have been, just not used to his new weight, but the athleticism was still obvious with Neville, even at his new size. And that is fantastic for the Dallas Cowboys. That's a much better upgrade in the middle than what we had in a while. A lot of our fans for years have been crying, rightfully so, for us to get serious about addressing our interior. So I just want to kind of deal with a couple of things when we talk about Neville. So first of all, when we look at Neville coming out of college, he came out of college at 6'2", 304 pounds. Obviously, he's much bigger than that now. But what stands out is obviously that 40 time of 4.79, right? Which is hard to find any lineman that's running sub 4.8s, but yet he did. So what was impressive about him was definitely his first step coming out of Oklahoma from the interior, and he looked like he was gonna be a shoe-in athletic 3 tech. Nobody imagined, I definitely didn't, him being a 1 tech. I categorized him as a 3 tech. Some of the strengths that they talked about when I make this a little bit bigger is he possessed an untapped potential for teams to mold. That's exactly what the first thing that the Dallas Cowboys took advantage of, his moldableness. And to me, it's he's greatly slept on how hard it is to gain 20 pounds or 15 pounds. It looked like it was about 20 pounds of muscle. To gain that much muscle in that little amount of time that he was out, that he gained a whole offseason worth of muscle in about 3 months. That shows you a tremendous work ethic, because he had to be committed. I mean, exponentially committed to be getting over his injury and at the same time remolding his new body. So yeah, so that's one of the things that obviously stood out. And then they talked about his motor runs hot and never takes plays off. That's something that you can clearly see as well. You can see his motor doesn't take a play off. The major question with him and most interior players is how long is it gonna take them to get adjusted to the trenches. That was always the question. But this is one thing about Neville that I could say. Neville always, in my opinion, for the Dallas Cowboys, played a year ahead of his development. Okay, so Neville year one, in my opinion, was like a normal defensive tackle's year two, where he started off a little bit cold, which is typical for a new defensive tackle getting used to NFL grown men bodies surging on you every play. His first half of his rookie season was okay, but he greatly splashed on the second half off the 3 tech position, especially when Tristan Hill went down. So his year 1 finished, in my opinion, like a year 2 defensive tackle 3 tech. But his year 2 was more complicated because it's not as easy as eating some sandwiches, some steaks, and then coming back and all of a sudden you just better. Yes, he obviously did put on weight. That's obvious. But also, we also got to give these guys time to get adjusted to new bodies. So when you put on, and you already 304 pounds, and you put on around 20 pounds of muscle, you have to get used to running with that. That affects your conditioning. You have to build your body in the condition to handle the new weight, which is why I think he likely tailed off just a little bit at the latter end of the season, and his play wasn't as good as his early parts of when he debuted the new size, because he never really got used to it. So another thing that I want to look at is the steal that he always was. Neville Gallimore was always a steal. So looking at him, most had a grade of Neville Gallimore as a bottom first or early second round talent, right? So when the Dallas Cowboys was able to draft him in a 3rd, he was similar to the steal that Diggs was, because Diggs also had a bottom of the 1st, early 2nd round grade, but we got him mid 2nd round. So when we got him with the freakish measurables that he has, with the, like they talked about, the potential for untapped potential for teams to mold, most gave Dallas on when they graded it or drafted him an A, you know, and that's rightfully so, because he was a value draft just as Diggs. So the thing is this is the thing. This is why I also got to give the Dallas Cowboys credit, because he was supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks with that dislocated elbow, right? And Neville Gallimore, who left with an injury last night, suffered a dislocated elbow with minimum structural damage, source said, following the MRI. This is by offseason report. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks with nothing torn. Basically, best case. So I'm gonna kind of say this: the Cowboys obviously brought him back way later than 4 to 6 weeks, because remember, they said that means that Gallimore could potentially return as early as week 2. And we know he didn't return to around week 10. So for everybody that's optimistic about, this is a side note,
you are fake news.
I'm just telling you, don't fall for it, because this is obviously what the Dallas Cowboy does. They give you these rosy predictions and then they roll them out whenever they want to. So that's first of all why I'm not believing it. But the main thing talking about Gallimore, and another reason why I'm expecting him to be the glue of the defense, because Aiden Dirty had a real bad hand without him. First of all, he was the 3 tech when he was injured. He came back as a 1. But the reason why I was so high on the job that Aiden Dirty did is because the guys that he was working with was not prime state. Justin Hamilton played way above his pay grade under Aiden Dirty. Same thing with Carlos Watkins. Like, most people thought Carlos Watkins was going to even make it out of camp, right? And then also the hand that Aiden Dirty was dealt was also, he had to go out there with a rookie 3rd rounder to get him to instantly play above his grade, which most rookies don't play as good as Osa, especially in the first 8 games. It just doesn't happen. He's an anomaly. Truly, he's a unicorn. What we saw happen with Osa and under the leadership of Aiden Dirty just doesn't happen. And plus, we got Tristan Hill late, who also didn't have a full training camp, obviously rehabbing off that knee. So when you look at the Dallas Cowboys interior going into the 2022 season, where Tristan Hill is not going to be rehabbing and all that kind of stuff, Gallimore is going to have now a whole offseason to get used to the weight. He didn't have to jam in the conditioning that it takes to play at his size. He's just going to be able to just come in and play at that size and have the wind to handle it. So obviously, with question marks at linebacker, the most important position is going to be our one tech, because it is linebacker that is the question mark position. And we're going to need a run stopper and somebody that's able to keep those running lanes free and clear. And that's going to be the job of the glue guy, our one tech guy, Gallimore. But I tell you what, if you like this content, y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to Boss Cowboy Sports, because we're going to continue to give you more and more breakdowns of different players and how they fit going into training camp and how we see them in terms of their value to the Dallas Cowboys. We also appreciate everybody that continues to donate into the Cash App and the Super Chats and all the ways that y'all financially continue to give to Boss Cowboy Sports. But y'all stay up.